What's up, everybody? This is the monstrosity one. Back at you again with another, this sounds kind of echoey, but we back at you again with another video, aka Godling the Creator, aka Jay DeLille, the artist. So this is kind of a video to finalize the Isom review. And what I'm trying to do is to explain storytelling the way I see it, the way I've come to understand how you should tell a story, especially an exciting one, and to explain my rationale behind what I meant when I said the things about Isom, about it not having any stories in it to push me forward, to want me to know what's happening in what's coming, because that's what drives people to continue to want to read your book. What's coming? How are you teasing me? How are you piquing my interests? And Isom just had fight after fight. It didn't have any story or world building that led me to believe that something was coming, something was imminent, some danger, some building threat, anything. So Young Ripper, Eric July, he says that X-Men was one of his favorite cartoons and that he grew up watching this. So he said that back in the days he might not have been able to get the full contextual elements of everything, but now as an adult he can grasp more and he can see more. Well, in the 90s when this came out, I was a grown-ass man. I was like 30s. So I loved the X-Men, and because I didn't really necessarily love the art, but I came to respect it and love it because it was doing everything that I wanted to see in animated series. The action was there, and that was the most important part. The characters were there. So in the beginning, just make believe I never understood, I never saw the X-Men. You don't know what the X-Men are, and this show comes on, and right out the gate they're explaining this mutant is rampaging, right? He's this big hairy beast is rampaging in the city, and he's picking up things and throwing them around. He's picking up these cars, police cars, and he's throwing things around. This is another thing what I meant when I said that I couldn't gauge anything about Santuan strength or daggone, this is humming. Hold on. Yeah, there's something humming. Something is humming out there. It's not my computer. So if you hear a hum, that's not me. Damn it. So anyway, okay, stop. So this, I couldn't gauge. He didn't have them picking up cars and throwing them around. You didn't see them doing any feats of strength. So you couldn't really gauge how strong. Well, you know they're not this week. In the 90s, there was a Peter Parker, I don't know, Spider-Man TV animated show on. It was one of the best that I ever saw, and in that you saw him pick up Volkswagen, and he said, wow, I have trouble picking up Volkswagens, and you see him struggle a little to lift up the car, so you can gauge, have a guesstimation of what his strengths are. And in this, you can see, you might not know the limits of Sabretooth's strengths, but he picks up a car and he throws it through the air. So I don't know if I'll be able to get that particular scene. Here it is, but see, there's the car. He picks it up and then he throws it out towards the camera. And this is a newsreel, a news report, and you can see right here that this is the news report, and the car is exploding into the camera or whatever. So this is the news report that was explaining in the first 5 to 10 seconds of the show. It's explaining that mutants sometimes rampage, and that there's a nationwide dissidence against mutants. The sentiment about mutants is very low. People don't like mutants because of this rampaging that these mutants tend to do, and that you also learn that there's a mutant registration, and that people the average man is all for this registration, and that there's laws being passed and all types of stuff. This is all within 10 seconds, a minute, the first minute, say this, in the first 3 minutes of the show, you not only get to see all of this, but you get to see that Jubilee is, well, you don't know, they don't say her name until later on, but right after that news, the guy and this woman is Jubilee's parents, and even though they're not using names at this point, they're just talking about how they shouldn't have registered with her with this, registered their daughter with this mutant registration thing, and that they were skeptical because she's her daughter. They don't know what they're going to do to her. And the man is saying that it's good for her. They're promising to help her, and she's been breaking things, using her powers. So you're learning things right out the gate, and you see that this girl that they're talking about is listening at the top of the stairs, so she kind of runs away and goes to the mall, and after she leaves, she's worried and she leaves, and then right after that you see a sentinel, a robot, a giant robot. I'm trying not to use the words because I'm trying to make like I don't know who these characters are, but just to explain how the story moves. And they already giving you all this information. You already know about a mutant registration. You already know that there's anti-mutant sentiment across the country, that people don't like that these mutants are rampaging, and then you know that this girl is one of the mutants that's been registered with this mutant registration corporation or company or committee or whatever it is. And then right afterwards you see the robot coming in, and he steps on some furniture and stuff, and then he's doing a scan of the house, and he's looking for Jubilation Lee, and that she's Chinese, and then you get all of the stats on her, and he basically just breaks into the house, and because he thinks this is her and her in the bed, and he breaks through the wall, and he grabs the bed and realizes that that's not her, that she wasn't there, and then takes off again, and then you see Jubilee in the arcade at the mall playing video games, and right after that her powers go crazy. So you already learning that there's robots out hunting for this girl, and you don't know why. And and that immediately here her powers destroys this machine, and she has to leave because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the exact one, but her powers blows up the machine and she has to run out. And then the robot comes to the mall where she is, tracks her down, and there's her powers going crazy right there. And she has to leave, and they realize that she's one of these mutants, and so they start yelling at her, so she runs out. So you already get to see that you get to learn a lot about the world. The world building is a lot that's happening. You already know that there's robots hunting for mutants. You already know about this registration. You already know about this anti-mutant sentiment. You already know a lot of things within the first 3 to 5 minutes of the show. I think this all happened within the first 3 to 5 minutes. And yeah, I got 10 minutes down here. So, and that's with the credits. That's with the credits and everything. So that's what I'm trying to do in my story, and I didn't see any of that in Isom. That's what I was aggravated with. There was nothing. He didn't introduce me to the world at all. He was hiding. Everything was cryptic. Everything was hiding the information as if it was supposed to be a cliffhanger. You gotta let people know. In Might, the graphic novel, the story that I'm doing, I'm gonna let you know right out the gate that there's this group who's known to be mercenaries to do all kinds of international terrorist type things, where they're doing high-profile assassinations, kidnappings, all types of undermining governments and disrupting all types of things, and that they were coming to Portsmouth. Now, right there, that's going to have you asking questions, just like the first 5 minutes of this show has you asking questions. What's this mutant registration? Who's running it? Why is there robots hunting these people? All of these questions get woken up in your mind, and you want to know the answers to them. And I didn't get any questions in my mind except for why. Why am I not getting the information about your world? And so with Isom, I just couldn't get into the story, even though you could see he had plans that with the story, but it was so low grade, with this just being a fight with this gang, or this club leader or underworld boss who you didn't know was an underworld boss at all, except for that he had a couple of dudes in his club working for him that he got into fights with, and that he had one of these excepts. I would have had multiple excepts. I would have had him maybe the Darren kid. He was working, the girl goes missing, Jasmine goes missing, Isom goes to look for her, and he can't get anywhere with him. He's being given the runaround, so he does an investigation. That's when he should have had Isom become the detective and start snooping around things, maybe following people, follow them to a warehouse, to where, or had a couple of win-loss scenarios where he found somebody who could give him some information but they went missing, or he found some information but lost it in a fight, or while tracking somebody, done something. Those win-loss scenarios would give you that feel of him having a difficult time, and then maybe he finds some warehouse or finds some facility that these guys are Darren is trying to take over something, whether he's trying to take over the city, become more powerful using some MacGuffin, or or anything. He could have anything going on, but he had nothing going on the bad guy side. So, and anybody who knows storytelling, especially in comic books, if you don't have a good bad guy, your good guy is garbage. And Darren was not a good bad guy because he didn't let me see the extent of his power. He didn't show any power. We didn't get to see anything about what he's doing or what his intentions were. They didn't show any threat to the city or a government official, a corporation who was building something that he was trying to steal for some reason or another to gain power or position or anything. There was nothing like that. He wasn't trying to take over the city. He wasn't trying to take over the other gangs. He wasn't doing anything. There was no inciting aggression or story in their plots to help me guide his story to somewhere where I can be interested. What is it that he's doing? What is he looking for? Why? That story was supposed to introduce Darren to the seedy part of the world that he was building. He left the world for a reason. Well, show us that reason. We never seen any reasons for Darren with Darren or with Avery. There was no inciting incidences except for that the girl was missing, but you have to keep that up. I love 24 Alias because it keeps, in one episode, it keeps you asking questions and building until you finally come to that downhill. You keep going like a roller coaster. You keep going up and up and up, and then finally you get to the top, and then you go shooting down. Well, in order to keep going up and up, you have to keep building story that keeps getting you excited and more excited because you see this happening and there's something else is coming together. And that's what he should have been doing, having Avery hunting around, getting close, finding things, losing things, and then finding some other route to find his way back on track, and then finally maybe coming in contact with Jasmine, and then maybe she gets killed, and that really drives him forward to want to solve what's going on. And then he finds out that Darren is doing something in the city or with some MacGuffin, or he's doing something with some politician, anything, or some businessman or some terrorist group, anything. But there was nothing. It was just fighting a bunch of nobodies. That's all it was. We don't know if the girl is what's her name? None of the names mean anything. Isom doesn't mean anything. So I remember the name because it's the name of the book, but I keep forgetting the other characters' names because they don't mean anything. You don't have anything to attach yourself to these characters. So this is what I mean, and when it might, I'm going to have these stories pushing out to you because I'm going to have three origin stories. Is going to be Mega, a biosynthetic humanoid who's been created in this this government lab by a scientist. He didn't intend to create it. He was creating something else, but he was using his experiment in a different manner, specifically to help somebody that he loved. And things happened, and it went a little bit of awry, and they created this biosynthetic humanoid that he realizes that he didn't want to fall into the wrong hands, including powerful hands. So things take its own turn, and that's what I'm going to be pushing these things. And then I got my AI character, cubed to the second power, who's going to be denying access to this businessman who needs a win. He needs a win, and he believes that this guy's he thinks that he understands fully what this guy's experiment is about, and he wants in on it. And he works for this businessman, Bryce Maddox, but he's going off on his own. The guy pays him well. He's been a benefit to his company, so he's going out on his own, doing his own thing. But Bryce wants him to work with him. He wants him to let him finance, and so that he can get first dibs. And he says no. So this is all stuff that's going to be driving stories forward. You're going to want to know what it is, why, and all of these different things. You're also going to want to know why Bryce Maddox is so desperate and all of this other stuff. And I'm going to give you reasons. I'm going to keep the story building. And then you're going to find out about this other bad guy who works for Bryce Maddox. Those two guys are going to be kind of working together, the cube to the second power and my bad guy. And their stories are they go work together, and then they kind of go separate. One goes good and one goes bad because of the choices that they make. And you're going to see how that unfolds. So you're going to have these characters doing these things and unfolding storylines that's going to have you wondering what's this is, or what's that about, why he's doing this, why did he do that, and people who want revenge and all of this stuff. And then you're going to have the main Mike story, where the substance that landed in this meteorite back in the 1960s when Mike was created, the reason why Mike was created, this substance in modern time, because that's where the story opens up. This Mike invites 3 guest starring superheroes to help bolster his group, because he doesn't have full faith in all of the characters in his group. So he knows that this group that's coming in, this terrorist group, that's this mercenary group that's coming in, they're very highly successful and they're a powerful group. So he wanted to make sure that he bolstered his numbers in order to stave off whatever these guys were coming to Portsburg for. And this is before the story starts. So he brings them there, and he's in the beginning, he's telling them, when you first see the story open and he's explaining to these 3, okay, you've heard, it's been a few hours they've been hanging around, so they've heard the briefing, and so they're just going back over it because they're kind of getting a little antsy. So they say, so you sure these guys are going to be showing up? And you're like, yeah, these guys are no joke. I have to take them seriously. And so do we have all the intel that we can get on what they might, the targets, possible targets and all of the stuff? He said, yeah, everything is ready to go. We just basically sitting on our hands waiting for them to strike. And so I said, okay, that's basically how it opens. And then they start getting in Mike's ass because of some of the things that happen. There's some funny stuff that starts right here. They start gigging on him and start cracking jokes on him, and just when they start to get deep, boom, something happens. The diamond mark is getting robbed, and the alarms and the alerts in the Vedit tower all of the monitors come on, and people are monitoring the attack. And so they go, okay, they rush in, they get ready to head to the ships, and they take off. They get ready to take off when, boom, they hear an explosion, and there's an explosion down in the what's that valley, Silicon Valley, of Portsmouth. It's called by something else, but so that you can understand, it's the Silicon Valley of my city, Portsmouth. And so they have an area in the city that's specifically for technology and shit. Like I said, it's the Silicon Valley, but in Portsmouth. So and so they have to split up. So they leave a group at the headquarters just to make sure, and then the rest of the team splits up, and they go one to the Diamond Mart and one to this Silicon Valley area, and that's where the big fight starts. The first group at the Diamond Mart, they go in hot, ready to fight. They just, because they have hostages and everything, so they land in going right at it, and the fighting starts. And then with Mike and them at the Silicon Valley place, he goes there and he sees that they standing out there waiting for him, so he kind of goes in kind of slow, and there's no hostages really, so they go in there kind of slow, asking questions and talking, and then after a couple of a little bit of dialogue, boom, it jumps into a big fight. So you got these two big fights happening, and then right after that, and that's going to be like 10-20 pages worth of fight, and then right after that, something happens, and then the government shows up, and the fighting is over. The government shows up and tells Mike that something more happened. It was more than just those two attacks, that there was a third attack, and this substance from back in the 60s that threatened to destroy the planet, that this a sample, a single sample, because they have a lot of this shit, but a single small sample of this shit went missing, and that's the inciting incident that gets the Mike storyline going. He's hunting down these people. You gotta find out what's going on, who stole it, and why, and all of that stuff like that there. And yeah, this is what I'm doing with my story. So that's what I expected from Isom when Eric July said that he liked X-Men. I figured that it would be paced and that the story would move, because he comes off as an intelligent dude, and so I thought he was more intelligent than me. The dude went to college and all of that stuff like that. So I figured that his writing chops would be a lot more, that we would have seen just from watching the X-Men. The first 5 minutes of the show, you get so much exposition on the characters and on the world building, as far as the robots having to do with collecting mutants and all of this stuff. That's a lot of world building, and these giant robots on top of it is a big adversary for the good guys, or these mutants, to go up against. So that's what I think about when I think about building my story. How am I going to build it so that my character can have a decent adversary, have a threat that's actually threatening, and adds a lot of high risk to the characters, my heroes' welfare, and making them intriguing and thought-provoking. These are the things that I think of when I'm writing. I want to make sure I got all of those stories in there. 4 basic stories, more than that if you count the bad guy side. If you count Bryce Maddox, all of his storyline, there's going to be a lot of storylines going on, and they're all going to be driving towards similar ends, and that's why I have my story going the way it is. Everything is going to be driving the story forward, and it's not just going to be fighting for fighting's sake. The fighting is going to be a result of the incidents of what's taking place, the inciting into somebody's plan. Everything is a plan. Nobody's fighting just to fight. And that's what I got from Isom. They were fighting. All of those fights were just fights, just to fight. The fight in the club wasn't necessary. The 3 pages in the beginning wasn't necessary. The fight with I forget her name. I forget the chick's name. But the fight with her and the police, that wasn't necessary. It had nothing to do with anything. The fight with her and Isom didn't have anything to do with anything. All of this was just a bunch of empty fights. You couldn't see any part of the story in that. Who set that up? Why did this take place? All of my fights in my book is gonna be set for a reason. The fights are gonna be set. They're gonna explain when the government guys come in. They're gonna explain that those big fights that y'all had was just to keep y'all occupied while they was robbing, stealing this substance shit. See, so right there you can see that it's a lot bigger, and you're gonna know that. And this is just the first opening pages of my book. I want it to be 100 pages, 118 pages, 116 pages, and the way that I'm going about it, I don't know if I'm gonna have enough room in my book with 100 pages, 118 pages, 116. That I'm going to have enough pages to get my complete story out, because I want there to be a ending for some of the story plot lines, so that you can get some, it's not just all cliffhanger. I want y'all to be some kind of resolution. Either somebody gets caught, somebody gets something happens, so that you can say, okay, this is a story plot line, or something that can say has some kind of a resolution, so that we can move on with the others. Even though it's just starting, I want to try and set something up. Why I watch shows like 24, Alias, Stargate, is because they tell those stories really well. Especially 24, you'll see a lot of situations where one person starts the terrorist threat, one of the bad guys, and he'll be the initiator of the terrorist threat, but he'll either get wiped out or he'll get caught and then he'll get wiped out or something, and it would leave you still wondering what's going on, and you have to move on to the next one. And that's what I want. I want you to be coming in, have certain things happen, you get certain resolutions, but know that the complete story is still ongoing, but you'll have small resolutions, like as to with this person might have started it, but either they got caught or they got hindered or something got thrown away or something goes wrong. It's called win-loss cycles, and you have to have win-loss cycles on both sides. You have to have win-loss cycles with your bad guys and win-loss cycles with your good guys, and you'll see, even though in Alias they'll have Jennifer Garner going up against Anna, competing agents with two clandestine groups, and there'll be opportunities where she can take Anna out, but Anna doesn't. She doesn't take Anna out, and there'll be also incidences where Anna won't take her out instead of just smoking that. So it makes no sense. That's kind of like in Batman back in the days when they would, instead of just taking Batman out, they would tie him up in some elaborate trap, and he has to break his way out instead of just Smoke that fool. So yeah, we're gonna have all kinds of plot lines and storylines and all that, and that's why I'm taking my time with my stories. I don't want to rush through it because I don't want it to feel contrived. I don't want it to feel empty. I don't want it to. I want the detective part where my guys are actually doing detective work, trying to figure stuff out. I want it to feel intelligent. I don't want it to feel haphazard and thrown at you. And so that's all I'm trying to say. X-Men stories like the X-Men and high quality animated stuff like the Justice League, Batman, the animated series, Superman animated series, Young Justice, the first 2 seasons. All of these were really good shows. And Johnny Quest, all of these are old cartoons. La Femme Nikita. These are the shows that I use to tell my stories as references so that I can tell my stories. I don't Avatar, the animated, that's very good animated stories and animations and story plot lines. So if you want to get in with good stories, you're going to want to check out Might, the graphic novel. And that's all. This is the last thing I got to say about Isom. I just wanted to wrap it up because I thought I might have left myself a little bit open. I didn't really give a complete explanation on what I felt about the gauging of the power and just by having them do stuff. Crashing through walls, lifting stuff, all these types of things. We never really saw that. We just seen them throw each other around. So, and that doesn't really give you a good estimation of anything. And so yeah, these are the things that I want to make sure that I put into my book. That I'm going to have all of these types of things that you can use to gauge. Okay, you can see he's strong enough to lift up a car and throw it, right? This is what I meant by gauging how strong they are. I don't know how strong. Can Isom pick up a car and throw him? I don't know. None of it is, nothing that happened in the book really allowed you to gauge anything. And it was just basically fight after fight after fight. So, and then come back for the next book. I don't know if I can do that. So, Might will have not only action, but a purpose for all these actions. My plot lines are going to be solid. My character is going to be absolutely character based, story based. It's going to be all of that. It's not going to be just haphazard running back and forth. I'm going to have street level characters, but they only going to visit. They're only going to pop in when one of my mid-level, higher level characters go to them for information or something like that. But other than that, my story is going to be dealing with higher impacting storylines. It's not going to be any street level pimping or street level gang crap. There will be some of that in there, of course. I'm going to have to touch on some of that, but it's not going to be on that level. It's not going to be just street level. The street level stuff is going to be a tool to get to where I need to get to. It's not gonna be the end all. I'm not stopping at street level crime. Mines is gonna build immediately into higher tier stuff, and we only gonna use lower tier characters as help or to attract people or gain information, stuff like that. So that's what you're going to see. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm setting up my characters in tiers: street level, mid-tier, and then higher tier government official type stuff, where we have federal level characters who are more powerful, who are brought in to fight ultra powered characters that might show up. So yeah, we have it all set up, and we're not stopping there. So all right, let me get up out of here, and that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to straighten that out and let y'all know that storytelling is about excitement and keeping people intrigued, grabbing them by the hair and saying, look at this. And this is all metaphorically. So all right, I'm out of here. Peace. Like, subscribe, do that YouTube thing, and I'm out.